ahead and get into our top story for the evening. And speaking of controversy, so this has been happening most of the week, and actually has been kind of sad to see, especially with how gross it just kept getting. So, in case you guys do not know, Rooster Teeth's Ryan Haywood of Achievement Hunter and Adam Kovic of Funhouse. I might be getting those backwards, but Adam Kovic and Ryan Haywood have been dealing with a huge controversy involving explicit photos being leaked on the internet. Roll the dice, everybody. Do you think they're dick pics? Do you think?
Probably more than just dick pics.
Oh, Phil, you got a nat 20. They are exactly dick pics. They have to. Actually, they're worse. So yeah, we have not only dick pics of Ryan Haywood and Adam Kovic, but in Ryan Haywood's case, I believe it's Ryan Haywood's case, he actually was talking to a woman who he met during the con scene, and I get, like, this is the part that's unclear about it. He was talking to a girl that he was meeting at cons, and I guess when they were flirting and things like that, she was 17. Technically now she's 18, and they were actually talking about having an encounter at PAX. And so at that point, I can only imagine how happy his wife was to find out that he was going to go have a random sexual encounter with a girl he met at, like, random cons. So you had that. Oh, but it gets grosser. Because Adam Kovic, turns out, he was actually not only sharing pics of his dick, he was sharing pics of him and his wife having sex.
Yeah, not pics, videos.
Yeah, pics and videos. Pics and videos. I can't remember who he was sharing it to, but it was a seedy source.
According to the article from Game Revolution that we're referring to, it was basically a result of a catfishing scheme.
That's right. Yeah, okay, yeah, it was a catfishing scheme.
Yeah, someone was catfishing him using the name and photo of a pornographic actress in order to get Kovic to send those photos and videos.
Yep. So, yeah, this crap happened. So in Ryan Haywood's case, now, as soon as this stuff got leaked, Ryan Haywood immediately kind of backed out, and from what I understand, he went to the higher ups at Rooster Teeth and basically said, I'm gone. Like he basically quit right then and there, and he then put out a video apology, basically saying that he's stepping away to go basically fix the tatters of what's left of his family, and start to earn back their trust. Adam Kovic, however, I like how the headline of this article says that they, or according to Rooster Teeth's statement, they parted ways. But from what after doing some digging and hearing some scuttlebutt here and there, I'm kind of wondering if it was more like he got fired, and then Rooster Teeth decided to say they were just parting ways. Because it sounds to me like Kovic didn't want to go. So at that point, yeah, we have these issues happening, but let's get into the acts themselves really quick, because this is the part that irritates me the most. Haywood, like, random encounters with a girl in the con scene, like that's bad. And I'm not saying that he's forgivable or anything like that. He shouldn't have done that on his wife, because I believe he's the one with kids. Adam Kovic doesn't have kids. So like he has a family to now go pick up the pieces that he wrecked. Kovic, however, dude violated the trust of his wife by basically filming them and sending it out to somebody, and safe to say the wife never knew. And now she's having to deal with all of this online embarrassment because, yeah, now she's involved, and she didn't do a damn thing other than be in the lens of his camera. So I'm gonna let you guys kind of get into this. I'm legit pissed at both of them. I'm kind of where their former coworker from Red versus Blue basically said, where I am repulsed and very angry about it. Because this is just crap. But Lindsay Jones, that's the one who said it. Yeah, she was filled with overwhelming feelings of repulsion, betrayal, and rage. And so at that point, also, we'll get into another aspect of this as kind of a result, but give me you guys' thoughts on the actions of Adam Kovic and Ryan Haywood.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Why can't people just keep it in their pants? Why is that such an abstract concept?
I would like to point everybody to the title of our podcast episode. Never unzip for the internet. Never do it. Never do it.
And I acknowledge I'm speaking as someone who hasn't really followed Rooster Teeth in years because I kind of outgrew their content. I never really got into Ruby.
I never got into the later stuff. Like, I watched Red versus Blue, but I never got into like Ruby or any of the stuff that came after.
Yeah, and it's a case of where I haven't really followed them in years. It's kind of crabby that this sort of stuff is happening, but at the same time, I don't really have any sympathy because both of these actions and the controversies that embroiled came from the result of these two men choosing to engage in these actions. And so, honestly, it's a case of where there's not much I can really say, except they kind of brought it on themselves.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you think with your dick and not your brain.
Well, not only that, but, I mean, this is one of several controversies that have plagued Rooster Teeth, not just this year, but kind of last year, too. Rooster Teeth has a lot to answer for. I mean, they had the animation crunch thing. They now had this. They had some other controversial stuff that was happening with their CEOs. Yeah, it's not good right now for Rooster Teeth. They're not looking very reputable right now.
I think a large part of it is that, and this is the same thing that happened to College Humor as well, is that Rooster Teeth didn't start out from the get-go as a production company. It started out as basically a hobbyist enterprise.
Yeah, a YouTube channel, and that was basically it.
Yeah, a YouTube, but before YouTube, since they initially uploaded it to sites like Screw Attack and Game Trailers.
Yeah.
And so it was a case where it started out as a hobbyist thing, and it hasn't quite managed to adjust to being an actual legitimate production company. I mean, yeah, they produce actual content now and are considered a production company.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the good example of this, there's a video that Penn Jillette put up. It wasn't actually him. It was on a different channel where it's kind of a case of, hey, this is the difference between Penn and Teller and, say, a group like the Beatles is that with Penn and Teller, they went into their partnership under the pretense of this is a business partnership. We are working together as coworkers. We're not, we're not married to each other. And although they're still very good friends and still close to each other, they kind of made it clear from the get-go, hey, this is a business enterprise. Whereas the Beatles, on the other hand, Paul and John were really good friends, but then that friendship was torn apart by Yoko.
Yeah.
And this kind of same sort of thing. Something that started out as just kind of a hobbyist sort of project by a bunch of college students out of their basement has now kind of gotten too big to handle because running a $1 million media company is a lot harder than people think it is.
Yeah.
And I think Rooster Teeth is starting to learn that.
the really hard way. Alex, your thoughts on this initial situation?
I kind of share Romney's sentiments with this. It's a couple of adults who should have known better. Now they're kind of having to reap the consequences of their actions. So, not a lot of sympathy from me either.
Yep. Here's basically the level of sympathy that they got from me, and I'm going to bounce this idea off you guys. For anybody, because here's the thing. Dick pics, vag pics, whatever you want to mention here, they never end well. All right? Not even like, other body parts there. It doesn't end well because either it bites you in the butt now or 10 years down the road. And it comes out and it comes back to haunt you. So I'm almost considering this simple aspect is that if you get caught doing this stuff, it almost ought to be punishable by you getting your smartphone taken away from you. And then your cell phone provider comes out with one of those 80s brick phones. And you have to use that for a certain amount of time. And just so that they are an eyesore out in the middle of nowhere. You did a dick pic, didn't you? That's kind of why I would want to do that. It's just for the extra bit of humiliation because there are so many examples of this not working out. You think people would have learned by now. But no, we still are digging up stories like this. We're still doing it.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, this sort of thing is nothing new. I mean, case in point, the Reynolds pamphlet way back in the early days of the United States.
Yeah, it's oh my gosh. And what makes it even worse is, I kind of mentioned this with Rooster Teeth. Here's the second part of this that kind of gets a little frustrating. They just recently made an announcement, I think on Reddit, where they had to delay all of the releases of their shows for this year. And they didn't really give the reason why, but it's highly speculated that Warner Media is so pissed at Rooster Teeth that they're basically investigating everybody at this point. And if they find anything on you, they're kicking you out so fast. Because they're done with this crap. I've even heard internally at Warner Media, they've been wondering why the hell they have two animation companies when they should have just merged them into one company a long time ago. And it's becoming a harder and harder argument not to just merge Rooster Teeth into Warner Brothers Animation. Because of these situations.
Animation even exists anymore.
It does because of films like the Lego Batman movie,
yeah,
as well as the straight-to-video DC films. That's basically been Warner Brother Animation's wheelhouse for the past decade. Is the straight-to-video stuff. The Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie kind of brought them back to the brink.
Yeah, exactly. And so at that point, they might as well like internally at Warner, because of all of the controversies that are happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Warner's just looking at that and going, why are we keeping you around as a separate entity? You should just go into WB Animation because we don't trust any of the people in charge.
I mean, I can kind of see why they wouldn't want to merge them just because of the confusion. Because although Warner Brothers Animation.
Oh, I'm not saying that the Rooster Teeth stuff would move over. I think they would just kill Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, if anything, like I can see them killing Rooster Teeth and maybe trying to license some of the IP out.
Yeah.
Kind of like what happened to, all of Filmation's entire library. But I can see why they haven't really folded things over because, again, Rooster Teeth is as much a brand as it is a company, where if you're putting out stuff like Ruby or Camp or a lot of these other shows they've done, or like Genlock, granted, Genlock was partially financed by Warner Animation and, lost them millions of dollars.
Yes.
Point being, it's kind of the same reason why Disney doesn't fold everything under Miramax under the Disney umbrella. It's because they want to have that branding that is kind of still separate from the main moneymaker. So that way, in cases like this where Rooster Teeth does something like this or something like this happens with Rooster Teeth, the main company isn't damaged by the bad PR.
Yeah, exactly. But just really quick back into the theory here. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think that they delayed everything so that they can just do background checks on everybody?
I haven't even heard of anything, but I haven't followed news about Rooster Teeth that closely.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go so far with the whole background checks on everything. I can definitely, on every person, I can see Warner wanting to do some sort of an audit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, especially given how much money Warner has lost on projects like Genlock, and I think even the Ruby DC comic didn't really sell that well.
And that makes sense too. Like they literally could look at everything and say, okay, you're not making money, you're done. You're not making money. Okay, this one's making money, you're safe. But I still think that they're probably also auditing the higher ups too, because they do not want to have another story of another higher up in Rooster Teeth got caught in some scandal.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing because when you look at Warner Media as a company, compared to their biggest rival Disney, they are not as eager to maintain a squeaky clean image. I mean, case in point, NetherRealm being a major acquisition, which granted, Warner Brother WB Games has been on thin ice as of late in the past couple of years because of financial troubles with the upcoming Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League gonna basically being the make or break it titles.
Yeah.
But it's a case where Warner isn't as concerned as with preserving a family-friendly image. They've always been about being kind of the rebels, being like, oh, well, Disney's all squeaky clean families, we're kind of edgy. And so I can see this not so much being like, oh, we need to clean up our image. It's more Warner Brothers thinking, okay, is this company going to give us another goddamn PR nightmare that we have to deal with? We already have to deal with this crap with Zack Snyder and with a lot of these other people.
Yeah.
Our DC stuff. Is this going to be another headache that our lawyers are going to have?
That's why I'm thinking this is probably at least some kind of a measure to clean house, because they're tired of all the controversy, they're tired of all the bad PR that their companies are getting, and so at that point they're just like, you know what? we're biting this off as close as we possibly can. We're taking care of all of the financial problems, and we're making this work again. Roughly.
Especially considering that Warner not only owns Rooster Teeth, they also own Elation, which owns Crunchyroll,
Mhm.
which has also been starting to produce its own original content as well. And so it's very much one of those cases of where I don't know if they wanted to get rid of Rooster Teeth, I can see them thinking, okay, we're going to fold Rooster Teeth, we're going to hand off their IPs over to Elation since they seem to be handling their animation
That
better.
seems a little bit more likely.
Yeah, definitely more likely because there the branding wouldn't be nearly as confused unless they decide to incorporate Ruby into the DC branding with like they tried to do with the DC comic, which again, from what I haven't really seen any hard figures, but I know that basically there are people who prefer the Viz manga that Ruby was putting out because it had Japanese artists behind it, as opposed to the DC comic. Again, I don't have exact figures, but it's one of those cases where, yeah, with Warner Media doing any sort of audit or anything, it's really hard to tell because their branding is not nearly as strict as Disney's is.
No.
And so it's probably less a case of, okay, what is this going to damage the brand, and more of, okay, do we have to hire more lawyers to prepare for you clowns?
Yeah, but I think one thing that you and I can agree on in this case, Warner Brothers is not happy at this, not in the slightest, and so they are probably looking into whatever measures they can. Whatever those measures might be, I think they're taking it. The bottom line is and especially where I've heard like Warner Media has had some serious issues with a lot of their companies. It makes sense.
I don't think there's that much of a reason for Warner or Otter Media. I think it'd be more Otter rather than Warner, which I know Otter's a subsidiary of Warner, but I think it's going to go more to the direct parent instead of the big company. But these are just a couple random hosts. I don't want to say totally random, but they're just a couple of hosts of the Rooster Teeth brand and variety. It's a fairly big company. If this was a very large scandal that involved more people within the company, I'd say there's more reason for some kind of giant corporate audit. But considering this is just a couple of guys, I don't see anything really coming out of this. I don't see any big shakeups. I see that. Yeah.
Well, I think in all honesty, Achievement Hunter and Funhouse are on hiatus. That's just the bottom line. So that's going to be a definite actual consequence of this, and probably indefinitely, because I don't think they're going to bring him back. Because I think both Haywood and Kovic were like the main hosts of those.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them maybe putting it to bed and then maybe trying a relaunch down the road after. Maybe not with the same people, but probably thinking.
Oh yeah, PRify, Achievement Hunter, PRify, Funhouse. Yeah, I can see that.
Maybe not even necessarily PRify. Just be like, okay, well, we like this controversy. We're going to put these brands to bed for a while, and then maybe in a few years or so, we'll relaunch it with some new branding and some new people, and see if there's still a market here. Especially given that achievements aren't as much of a draw in gaming as they once were back when Microsoft started doing achievements. And so it's one of those things where I think Alex makes a pretty good point, where given that these are just two smaller guys from a smaller company, it's probably not going to be as severe as people are making it out to be. It could just be a case where...
Well, it's going to be serious for Haywood and Kovic, because they're going to have two wives to come home to, supposedly.
In the case of Rooster Teeth, the company, given that the talent has been dismissed, whether voluntarily or not, that's pretty much what any company would do. And so I can see Otter Media thinking like, okay, well, they did the bare minimum. They've washed their hands of this. We don't really need to do much else. And honestly, time will tell whether or not these controversies that have been coming in within the past few years will really damage the brand of Rooster Teeth, which it's kind of hard to say. I mean, granted, some shows like Ruby and Red vs. Blue are starting to succumb to seasonal rot, but it's a case where, I mean, again, Alex makes a pretty good point. These were just two smaller parts of a much larger whole that are probably a drop in the bucket as far as Otter Media and Time Warner.
Yeah, probably. So final thoughts, Alex, on this particular story?
No, I don't have too much more to say, but it's like I said, these are two hosts. They're two employees of an already larger company, and now that they've already been ousted, yeah, I think that's about it. I think this is a controversy that will be hot for like a few days and then die down like so many others before it.
Okay. The other thing I also want to bring up really quick, because I just got a question from a listener. Don't we find it a little odd that when it comes to the evidence regarding Adam Kovic, there was heaps and heaps of it to be able to unfurl, but he had no problem calling Vic Mignogna all the things that he did when they fired him, and they had no evidence with that. That this is this person's opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and I'm sorry, but the way that I look at it is, well, I mean, he already looked like a big old hypocrite anyway. Now he just looks like a bigger one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole, like, the whole big situation, that's a whole separate topic, since that was a
Yeah.
issue,
It's not attached to it. That's the thing. I know what they're referring to. Adam Kovic was one of the first people to kick him out the door. But yeah, I mean, it does look bad considering, you know, that there wasn't much evidence in regards to Vic, and now there's tons of evidence in regards to Adam Kovic. But I'm not gonna like attach it to this story here. He just looks like an idiot through and through.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to really comment about that, especially
Yeah.
considering the phrasing of this particular person's question kind of makes it clear where the asker's
Yeah.
opinions lie. In my case, it's a case where, yeah, that's, again, nothing new in show business. I mean,
No.
it's very much a case where everyone disavows the ones who get caught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest principle that we keep learning in scandals like these is simply like the only time that these people are penitent is when they get caught. That's the bottom line. You aren't sad that you did this, you're sad that you got caught, and now you have to answer for it, kind of thing. And so at that point, Ryan looks like he's on the way to be able to do some level of accountability. I doubt Adam is there anymore.
Yeah, because, I mean, by comparison, I mean, while soliciting a 17-year-old girl is scuzzy,
Yeah.
one of the, I mean, there is case for benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying that this excuses his actions, but it could easily be a case where he maybe didn't know her age, thought she was 18, kind of like what happened with Pro Jared, where the person who accused Pro Jared of sending...
Yeah, at that point, it's simple cheating, is basically what it is. Kovic, however, like I'm guaranteeing you there's a divorce in Kovic's future.
Yeah, because there's a case of, okay, you've got someone basically cheating with someone who they didn't really know how old they were, and again, he probably should have confirmed this. Again, this doesn't excuse it, but it's a case of, if you're gonna do it, you want to, make sure you're not, soliciting a minor, because even the slightest thing of soliciting a minor can still get you landed in jail in most states, even after they've already turned 18, depending on statute of limitations and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But with Kovic, there's a clear case of, okay, you literally recorded sexual acts between you and your wife without her permission or consent.